Pokémon was first locally released on February 27, 1996. Due to international demand, it was released on September 28, 1998, and the versions that were remade were Fire Red and Leaf Green and was released on January 29, 2004. When we were kids, we didn't know the difference between Fire Red and Leaf Green. Of course, we picked Fire Red because Charizard was there. So let's begin with the Fire Red Nuzlocke. I will still be using the same rules that I did with my Pokemon Emerald, which was previously uploaded. So my rules are to catch the first wild Pokemon encountered that's not yet in my party or my Pokedex. So that rules out all other Pokemon that I've already captured. Next is permadeath, meaning they will be put into a grave box in the PC. A whiteout means a game over, or I can just redo the battle, and then I will be playing in set mode. I will have equal parties as the opponents that I'll be facing for the gyms, and for the rival battles I will be using no items except held items, and there will be a level cap for each gym battle. So let's begin. So staying true to the original game, I'll be playing a boy, and I'll name him Red, and my rival will be named Blue. I won't be naming him Gary because that's the name for the anime rival. So let's begin by saying goodbye to mom, saying that it's normal for boys to leave at 10 years old and go on an adventure. So we picked Charmander and named him Toothless, even though he has two front teeth over there. So let's battle Blue, and then we have this unsolicited tips on battling. So we naturally finish off Blue with our Charmander. Then we go to Viridian City, get the Oak's parcel, and then get the Pokedex from Professor Oak. And after getting the town map from Daisy, we catch a Pidgey and named it Birdie. And then we go to Route 22 and fight Gary again with my leveled up Toothless and Birdie to battle the Pidgey and the Squirtle. A few sand attacks and a couple of gusts later, evading a tail whip from Squirtle, swapping between Charmander and Pidgey, so we beat our first rival battle. And then right after that, we luckily get a Mankey and named him Boots. And then we catch this old man giving us another tip on how to catch a Pokemon when we already did. So thanks for nothing, old man. I'm still baffled on how we was able to catch a level 5 Weedle at full health with a Pokeball. Anyway, he gave me a key item, and then this tip says that to catch more Pokemon to expand the collection, but I am on a challenge. Does the tip not know that I'm on a challenge? And then shortly after, we catch a Weedle, named him Barry, who will become a bee. Just gracefully went through Viridian Forest and evolved Barry with a cocoon. And then evolve him again to a Beedrill. We'll be using him later to fight Misty, because I was planning on using Twin Needle to beat this water psychic Pokemon. But first, let's focus on battling Brock with Boots, doing the karate chop on Geodude, and 2 low kicks against Onix, and we breezed through Brock no problem. And we got the Boulder Badge. We also got the running shoes from the aid, and after battling a couple of trainers, our Charmander evolved into a Charmeleon. I'm so proud of him. He's gonna take me as far as he can go. While inside Mount Moon, Pidgey evolved into a Pidgeotto. Nice. And after that, we have a rival battle. So Charmeleon goes first, beats Pidgeotto, and then we swap to Pidgeotto to beat Squirtle and the Abra, and we swap out to Mankey to beat the Rattata. That was easy. Like, these rival battles are getting easier and easier. Okay, and then while battling the Nugget Bridge, we have Beedrill level up to 20, and then it learned Twin Needle, the thing that I need. And then we also caught an Oddish. And okay, my plan was on Route 23 was to catch an Abra, but then it was too fast for me to use Wrap, and it's too fast for me to use the Pokeballs. Too strong for me to use the Pokeballs. But then I remembered that I already saw Caterpie first before seeing that first Abra. So my efforts were pointless. So I just left the bridge and then continued on to look for Bill. So we used the teleporter. Says he fused with a Clefairy, and then we transform him into a human form. But have any of you wondered where the Clefairy went? Must have been swallowed in the machine. Anyway, after getting the SS ticket, we now went to Misty's gym. Now using our Oddish against her, who is below the level cap, but then she just beats Misty easily using Poison Powder and Stun Spore against Staryu and Starmie and a couple of Absorbs. So there you go. And after the battle, she evolved into Gloom. So we then beat this Team Rocket Grunt and rightfully took the TM28 Dig and tried to return it to the owner, but then he said he doesn't need it anymore. Alright. And then we head on to Vermilion City, got the bike voucher from the chairman of the fan club, took some berries out. My Beedrill died from a trainer's Pikachu. That's sad, but then his job is already done. Anyway, we battle Gary again with almost the same team, just Oddish now instead of the Beedrill, with almost the same strategy that I did. The only difference was I was gonna use Gloom against War Turtle, and that just went so easy. We robbed this captain's back to get the HM cut, then take a peek at this bin, which is a very bad idea. I used the HM cut to teach it to the Meowth that we captured earlier. But then before we proceed to the gym, we say goodbye to Beedrill, to its grave. I forgot how the thing works in the Vermilion gym, so I keep opening the first switch, but then it keeps on resetting. And they said that the next switch would be beside it, but I've already tried everything. After a few attempts, we successfully opened the door. It's time to battle Lieutenant Surge. So my party was Gloom, Charmeleon, and Mankey. I thought Charmeleon dig, but then it was pointless because Gloom just destroys everyone. So good job, Gloom. Before leaving the city, we used the old rod to catch a Magikarp and named him Haku, who is very familiar with Pokemon Emerald. And then we got the bicycle from the bicycle shop with a bike voucher. I mean, who gives away a bike voucher that's worth 1 million Pokecoins? We did a tried and tested running up and down the hill to get Magikarp to level up into the level that we want. So we used the rare candy and then evolved Magikarp into a Gyarados. We catch a Voltorb, name him Balls, before entering Rock Tunnel, and then we got a Geodude as we entered Rock Tunnel, named him Golem. After going through Rock Tunnel, we go up to Pokemon Tower and then battle Gary with our new evolved Gyarados, who used Dragon Rage against Pidgeotto, a Water Pulse against Growlithe, and then we swap out to Birdie as Execute was released, but then it was seeded and then it was sleep powdered, so we swap out to Charmeleon, used Ember, finished it, and then as War Turtle was released, Gloom was switched out, poisoned him, and then just used Absorb. And as Kadabra went out, we switch out to Gyarados. Easy. We also catch a Growlithe, so we add that to the party. Name him Fiero without a Y, because it's supposed to be Fyro. Then after battling this trainer, Boots died from a poison. Goodbye, Boots. Oof. Okay, then upon arriving at Celadon City, we got Eevee and named him Fluffy. We then went through the game corner. However, that's where Growlithe died from a matchup again from a Team Rocket grunt. So before putting him to rest on the grave, I evolved him into an Arcanine just to add him to the Pokedex. So to battle Erika, I have Pidgeotto, Charmeleon, and Eevee. But I was gonna mainly use Pidgeotto and Charmeleon to fight her. So we just use a couple of Embers against Tangela after beating Victreebel with Pidgeotto with a Gust. So we switched out with Pidgeotto with a Wing Attack against Vileplume, easily finishing the Grass type gym leader. We then bought Dratini from the game corner. I think that's allowed. Somebody tell me that it's not. And then we proceeded to game corner to battle Giovanni. And then Toothless dies. I paused for a couple of seconds there, but then I remembered I was still playing the game. So goodbye, Charmeleon. That was so sad to actually lose you. So in replacement of Charmeleon, we evolved Eevee into a Vaporeon. I don't know why I keep using water-type Pokemon, but water-type Pokemons are my favorite. Then we catch a Ghastly at Pokemon Tower, named him Greg, and evolved it to a Haunter. And then I evolved it into a Gengar shortly after. Then Dratini dies from a Rattata with a Hyper Fang. So unfair. So the efforts are not adding up. We then catch Snorlax, which was also a struggle for me. And then Gloom dies from a random trainer's Voltorb. So again, another one down. We catch a Drowsy, who I'll be storing because I don't have any Psychic type Pokemons because Starmie's out of the picture. We catch a Parasect in the Safari Zone, and then we got the Surf and the Teeth, giving me the Strength. So we then battle Koga with Snorlax in the lead, but then it's too weak to fight Mach, so we switch out with Gengar, use Psychic against Mach, and then Coughing. Just one Psychic against Wheezing, and it's all over. It's time to battle Blue again at the Self Co with my new party of Vaporeon, Snorlax, Gengar, Pidgeotto, and Gyarados. Vaporeon uses Aurora Beam against Pidgeotto and Execute, which was so easy for it. A couple of bites against Alakazam, and then a Surf against Growlithe. That Intimidate was practically useless. So after swapping out with Blastoise, I sent out Snorlax to use Body Slam. So we beat our rival Blue easily. Then we got Lapras, who I will also be adding to my team. But then to battle Giovanni, I only used Gengar, Snorlax, Gyarados, and Vaporeon as my backups. So Gengar used Psychic against Nidorino, an easy kill. And then Gyarados used Water Pulse against Rhyhorn, which was super effective. And a couple of Dragon Rages, and then a Twister against Kangaskhan to avenge Charmeleon. And then a Water Pulse again against Nidoqueen. Easy. And after battling the fake gym, Pidgeotto evolved into a Pidgeot. And then unfortunately, it wasn't able to kill Hitmonchan. So a Sky Uppercut just kills it with a critical hit. So thank you for the Pokedex, Pidgeot. But I'm pretty sad that another Pokemon has to leave my team and go into the grave. Another one dies. So we then proceed to Sabrina with our party of 4 minus Pidgeot. Gyarados just used Dragon Rage against the other Pokemon. Then we swap out to Gengar using Psychic against Venomoth and a Shadow Punch against Alakazam. finishing the battle so easily. It's weird that Sabrina was shocked, but she was already a psychic. Why didn't she predict that? We catch a Psyduck at Seafoam Island and then avoided Articuno. We catch a Grimer in Pokemon Mansion after getting the secret key. We then proceed to the Cinnabar Gym, where we battle with our Lapras. Lapras uses Rain Dance first, then uses a Rain Boosted Surf against Growlithe, and then Ponyta, which was super effective, and then against Rapidash, who used Bounce, but then quickly dies after one hit from the surf. Not too quick there, are we? Arcanine used Fire Blast, and after using a Rain Dance, I didn't want to risk Lapras from dying, so I swapped out with Gyarados. We landed a Hydro Pump, finishing Dane's ace, getting us the Volcano Badge. It was my mistake to say yes to Bill, so we got trapped on the 3 islands. We caught a matchup there on Mount Ember, and then just catch Moltres because I don't want to go back there, and it's also for the Dex. Unfortunately, when battling another one of the trainers, Snorlax dies from an explosion from wheezing, and that was very unfortunate. After being held captive by Bill and Cielo at the 3 islands, it was finally time to go back to the mainland and battle Giovanni. So Gyarados leads the team with a Water Pulse against the first Rhyhorn after using Rain Dance, and then another Water Pulse for the next one, which was very easy. And then we also used Water Pulse against Dugtrio, then Water Pulse against Nidoqueen, and also another Water Pulse against Nidoking, who didn't die, so we just used Twister to end the game. And now we have all the 8 badges, beating the mob boss as well as the 8th gym. Before battling Gary, we set up a few Pokemon to the party. We evolved Hypno, and then we evolved Machamp. So that's my strategy for the first run. We catch Zapdos and Articuno just to add them to my Pokédex because I can. And now it's time to battle Gary with my new team of Hypno, Machamp, plus the other 4 Vaporeon, Gyarados, Lapras, and Gengar. Vaporeon uses Ice Beam against Pidgeot and then Execute, finishing them off easily. And then a Surf against Growlithe, and then Surf again against Rhyhorn. And we tried to use Bite against Alakazam a couple of times, so we ended that. So after taking too much hit, we swap out to Lapras, who I taught Thunder, and use it against Blastoise. Easy. We then catch Onix on Victory Road, and then now it's time for the first try against the Elite Four. And you know where this is going. We used Machamp against Dugong with a crosscut. And then my problem was Slowbro was using Amnesia. So Thunder was useless against it. So we swap out to Gyarados, who knows Earthquake, who I taught Earthquake. But then Slowbro kept spamming Yawn against all my Pokemon, which is very frustrating because I went in blind actually without any strategy battling Lorelei. So we swap out to Gengar, who fell asleep, and then used Shadow Ball against her. So after her, Lapras uses Confuse Ray, we use Cross Chop, but then it doesn't end Lapras. So Machamp is swapped out with Lapras, and then my Lapras uses Thunder, ending her Lapras. After her, Cloyster uses Hail, we use Thunder again because the special defense of Cloyster is too low, easily killing her. We then use Surf against Jinx, who kisses my Lapras to sleep. Use Surf again, and then got kissed again to sleep, and a couple of oh no, actually, and falls asleep after the next kiss, but then falls in love within a track. I can't believe this Jinx is like so attractive to all my Pokemon. Unfortunately, all my Pokemon are male, and that's frustrating for me. So we swap out to Gyarados against Jinx, who dies from a critical Ice Punch, giving me a free pass with Gengar with a Shadow Ball against Jinx. We then battle Bruno, who I thought was easy. So we use Surf against the first Onix, and then swap out to Gengar with a Psychic against Hitmonchan, then use Shadow Ball against Onix again, twice, use Psychic against Machamp, ending him with a critical hit. The problem was I got foresighted by Hitmonlee, so Gengar got kicked by it, so wasn't able to finish him. It was faster than my Gengar, so Vaporeon ends him with a Surf. So I only have 4 Pokemon left against Agatha, and my front runner was Hypno with a Psychic, who quickly falls into a Toxic Poison. So I swap out with Lapras after beating the first Gengar, beating Golbat with an Ice Beam. After being confused, of course, Gyarados was supposed to be the one to beat Arbok, but he already dies. So we swap out to Vaporeon, who got poisoned by a Sludge Bomb, and then tries to beat Arbok with a Surf. So we swap out with Hypno after receiving an Iron Tail and another Sludge Bomb because it was too slow and it doesn't even get to hit Arbok with anything. So since fighting wasn't powerful against Poison, we use Strength, and then Agatha swaps out with the Hunter, who then puts Machamp to sleep and killed with the Dream Eater. I swap out with Vaporeon, who just dies after swapping because of a poison, who then swaps out with a Lapras, who falls asleep and then got its Dream Eaten. So there goes my first whiteout. I needed a new game plan because my team was fairly weak. So I went out to Pewter City and got the Old Amber and evolved into an Aerodactyl. I have a new strategy which I recycled from my Pokemon Emerald Nuzlocke, where I will be just stacking the additional Pokemon every time I battle the next Elite Four. So for Lorelei, I only have Machamp and Lapras against her. First, Jinx kills Machamp and Lapras kills Lapras. In the next try, Jinx killed Machamp again with an Ice Punch, and I was so close to beating her first Lapras, but then I got paralyzed, and then that's my third. And then Machamp was able to beat Lapras with a Cross Chop, but it was too slow to kill Jinx. So that's our fourth. Next, we were able to kill Jinx, but then Lapras was able to survive one Thunderbolt, so that's our fifth whiteout. Finally, we changed the arrangement of my team. So we start with Machamp using Cross Chop against Dugong, and then every time she would use Yawn against us, we would be swapping out. So after depleting all the Yawns of Slowbro, we were able to use Strength against Slowbro, kill it, and use Cross Chop against Cloyster. I already had Machamp hold a berry so it wouldn't fall asleep after Jinx's first Lovely Kiss because it was faster than mine. So we used Cross Chop after eating the berry and then finishing off Lapras with the Cross Chop again. Take that, Lorelei. It only took me 5 tries to kill you. Next was Bruno. We added Gengar to the team. So it's Machamp, kill the first Onix, and then we use Cross Chop and then Brick Break for the next Onix. And then we swap out to Gengar, use Psychic against Hitmonchan. That was easy. And then we use Psychic again against Machamp, who used Bulk Up, a pointless one. Hitmonlee used Foresight against my Gengar. I used Confuse Ray so that it wouldn't be able to hit me, but it still was able to use Foresight. So we swap out to Machamp to take a hit. So we use Brick Break against it. And we were able to beat Bruno. Nice one, team! Next, it was Agatha. I added Aerodactyl to my team because it had a bite, which was pretty much useless because Gengar was able to survive 4 hits from that. So we swapped Aerodactyl out after Arbok, so we switched to Gengar, used Psychic against Arbok, and then when Golbat appeared, we swapped out to Lapras, and after being confused for a few times, we used Ice Beam, finally ending Golbat. We then swapped out to Machamp with the Thief against Gengar. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to do any much damage, so I just used him as bait to open up Gengar to finish the other Gengar with a Shadow Ball. And we just end the Haunter with a Shadow Ball for good. And now I beat Agatha. I was getting fairly confident on how things are going, and now I'm ready to battle Lance with Vaporeon in the team. But now, I still led with Lapras first, so we use Thunderbolt against Gyarados, but then it dies from an Ancient Power from Aerodactyl. So after a few surfs from Vaporeon against Aerodactyl and taking a Hyper Beam, we were able to beat it. We got paralyzed by Dragonair because of a Thunder Wave, so we used a couple of Ice Beams later against the first and the second, ending them both, and it was now time for Dragonite. Although we are slow, I was already expecting Vaporeon to be slower, so the paralyze just didn't help. It was just a risk to be paralyzed and be unable to move. So we weren't able to kill Dragonite with an Ice Beam. So after using Ancient Power against Dragonite, we then used Hyper Beam again to finally end Lance. So finally, battling Gary, I had the team Gengar, Vaporeon, Aerodactyl, and Gyarados only since Lapras and Machamp were already dead. So Vaporeon leads the team with an Ice Beam against Pidgeot, and then we swap out to Aerodactyl after Executor was sent out, and it had a berry after being put to sleep. We used Fly again to finally beat Executor. And when Blastoise was sent out, it used Hydro Pump. Good thing Vaporeon had Water Absorb, so we recovered a couple of HP. And after a few digs and a surf, we beat Blastoise. And then we used Surf against Alakazam twice. And then we used Surf again against Rhydon, which was 4 times effective. And the last Pokemon was Arcanine. And we all know how this will go. After it trying to use Extreme Speed, we use Surf again. Nice! We finally beat the champion Blue. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. But I can't believe Lorelei was the single person who was in the way of me becoming a champion. That was so hard. So we pay our respects to the Pokemon in the grave, which was half the number of Pokemon that I lost in Emerald. So there you go, everyone. That's the Nuzlocke challenge that I did for Pokémon Fire Red. If you want me to do more of these Nuzlocke challenges, leave a comment below and tell me your thoughts. Don't forget to press like and subscribe and click on the notification button to keep you posted on some new content that I will be releasing. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again in the next Nuzlocke challenge. Bye!